God bless you. Welcome to the Promise of God Ministry Program. We're happy to have you as a part of the program today. I have a wonderful message prepared for you, and the title of it is Stop in Your Track. Stop in your track. Have you ever had an experience that came upon you suddenly without warning and you had to stop in your tracks? Now, I don't mean when you are in a car and you come to a stop sign, well, you're prepared for that. But have you ever had an experience where you had to suddenly stop to evaluate the situation? For instance, danger. There was some kind of danger and you had to decide what to do. There was an emergency and you had to decide what to do. Or perhaps it was something that came not in the form of a danger, but in the form of a blessing, like a surprise. I mean, something surprised you, or you found some money and you stopped, look down there, and there's the money, and you have to stop and decide whether you should pick it up or whether you should, what should you do? And then at this time when you have to stop in your track, you have to alter your plans. You have to do another way, or change the way you were doing, or go another way, or perhaps figure out a situation. And then I'm going to tell you some Bible stories about people that had to stop in their tracks. There's a song that says, "Stop now, it's praying time." Well, in one of the stories, it had to stop, it was praying time. In the other stories, it was stop because it was danger. And I'm going to tell you these stories, so you just sit back and relax and think about the subject, stop in your track. The first story I'm going to tell you about is the story of the three people that viewed the same situation but had different reactions to it. The story is about the man on the Jericho Road. And I'm sure you've heard that story over and over again. There was a man that was on the Jericho Road. And in the biblical days, the Jericho Road was a very dangerous road. And a lot of things happened to people. And when you were alone on that road, there was a chance of something happening to you, especially late in the evening. Well, this man was traveling on the Jericho Road, and he came upon some thieves. They robbed him. They took everything he had. They beat him up, and they left him for dead. Well, you know the story. The first person that came by and saw this man on the Jericho Road was a priest. Now, you see someone laying there dying, and here comes a priest. Oh, you probably feel like, well, here comes the answer to his situation, because, of course, the priest is going to stop and assist the man and give him some kind of aid. But the priest looked over, saw the man, crossed on the other side, and kept on going. Well, that doesn't look too good. A priest, I mean, they're supposed to have, kind of stop and give you a little assistance. But no, this priest passed over, and it didn't concern him. He went on his way. Then a Levite, he came along, and you said, well, surely this Levite, because he was the son of David, said, surely this Levite is going to stop and assist this man. So he stopped, looked at the man, looked at him, because the priest didn't even look at him. The priest just glanced over there and saw him and crossed on the other side. But this Levite, well, he looked at him, saw the situation, and he crossed over on the other side and went on his way. Now, these are people that are dedicated to God. They're supposed to be doing the right thing. So along comes a Samaritan. And you know the story of the Samaritans. I mean, they were looked on as nothing. In fact, the Jewish people called them dogs because they had no respect for them. They weren't Christians. They were just, as we would say, people maybe like on Skid Row, or people in vices and things that didn't do anything right, and we call them sinners. Well, here comes this Samaritan, so-called sinner, and he came along but his heart was touched with compassion, and he stopped. He went over to the man. He dressed his wounds the best he could. He took out his water and he tried to wash him and tried to assist him. And then he took him and he carried him to an inn. And he told the innkeeper, he gave him some money and told him, take care of this man. And if it takes more money than I've given you, when I come back through, I will pay you the rest. Now, you see the reaction of 3 people that had to stop. The different reactions, stop in their track to see something and their reaction to it. So you see, when we have to stop in our tracks, many times there's different reaction, there's different situation. Now we're going to talk about Paul and Silas. Paul and Silas were 2 apostles, and they were on their way to the temple. And as they were on the way to the temple, a woman who had a spirit of divination, in other words, she, like a fortune teller, she foretold things, and of course, just demon possessed. She was demon possessed, and she made money for her masters by telling fortunes. So when Paul and Silas passed by, well, she immediately, the spirit within her immediately recognized the Spirit of God that was in them, and said, these are apostles of God. These are men of God, the apostles of God. Well, her masters could care less, you know. All they wanted was to make money off of this young woman. But Paul was concerned, and he turned around and he cast the demon out of this young girl. She was a young girl, and of course her masters were using her for profit and gain. He cast the demon out, and because he did, they became very angry, because of course she was no longer able to tell fortunes and to make them money. So they went and told the priest and things that Paul and them were spreading false doctrines, and they threw them in jail. And while they were in jail, they were singing and praying and praying to God and asking God to help them. And you would think in jail, you know, they'd be crying and, you know, and wondering why this happened to me, why does that happen to me? Because a lot of times when things like that happen to us, we're not concerned about praying and praising God. We may be praying, but we're praying only that we get out of this situation, not praising and thanking God. But this is what they were doing. So about midnight, while they were praying and praising God, about midnight. Now, who would think that somebody in jail at midnight would be praising God? But anyway, they were praising God, and an angel of the Lord came, and there was an earthquake. And the angel of the Lord loosed their bounds and opened the gates so that they could get away. Well, many of the prisoners left and escaped, but Paul and Silas didn't. And while they were there, the jailer came and he saw the gates open. He says, "Oh, my Lord," because in those days, if the jailer let the prisoners escape, he paid with his life because they would kill him. So he was so distraught and upset, he took a sword out and started to kill himself. And Paul said, "Stop in your tracks. Do yourself no harm. We are all here." And we didn't try to escape. Even though we could have escaped, we didn't try to escape. So this jailer was so relieved because his life depended on them being there. And if they weren't there, he was going to be killed. And he was so relieved. He wanted to know, what kind of God is this that you're serving, that you wouldn't escape when you had a chance to, when you had an opportunity? You didn't try to run away, but you stayed here because you were in jail. And so this jailer asked them, what could he do to be saved?